Audio Jungle.
Good morning and good afternoon, or rather good evening from wherever you're watching us from. This is a brand new show on the We Are One podcast, brought to you by Safari Media and We Are One organization. We Are One organization is an organization that deals with mental health and basically the well-being of a person in the society. It's a safe space where people air their opinions, their thoughts and ideas, and basically no judgment. And today on our very first show, we're going to break down the idea of parenting, and to help us on that is a very beautiful lady by the name Carol, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi Stella. Hi. So my name is Caroline. I'm a psychologist by profession. Awaiting graduation, but yeah, and I'm here to talk about parenting. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So basically when we talk about parenting, it basically involves the generation before us, because a lot of young parents, but most of the time they're doing it from learning the mistakes of their parents. So maybe we'll start by breaking down the idea of parenting from the way we were raised. So we can start from maybe the old school parenting.
Yeah, so I feel like to break that down, you need to understand what parenting is first. So parenting mainly entails 4 things: raising, nurturing, guiding and supporting. Now for most of these parents, the generations before us, kina mmesema ni Gen X ama
Yes.
how for
and
most
the
of
boomers before.
Yes, those ones. So for most of them, they get the raising part right and the guiding part right, but the nurturing and the supporting part, hapo ndio tunaeka question mark. They somehow fail, so we're not gonna fault them and say you're terrible at this, but that's where they lack. Yeah, so you can raise a child and you can guide them. You can show them, okay, this is the career I want you to take, this is the trajectory of your life, this is what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. But when it comes to supporting and nurturing, so supporting, most parents do it. Mzazi akinisikia saizi atasema, but I supported you, yeah, you took me to school,
Pay the school fees.
you pay the school fees, made sure I was clothed, I had food on the table and all that. But the emotional and psychological support is where it lacks. And that is what affects us right now when we're grown, when you're growing up. That's what affects you, because there's a part of you that is lacking something. That's for that circle to be full, that support has to be full. So when you give half of it, I am thankful for the half of it. Let's be clear, we are thankful for our parents for the support they gave us, but there's a bit of it, the other half of it, that we feel is lacking. And we feel it when we're figuring out exactly who we are. Because right now in your late teenage times and your early 20s, that is when you're figuring out, okay, who the hell is Carol? Yeah. So without the psychological and emotional support that you are supposed to have when you are younger, that's where you realize that gap in your life and you see those tendencies in your friendships, in your relationships, and in your mind you're like, yeah, mom was there for me, but she was, but really was she? You guys?
Because just maybe to cut you short,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe somebody watching this, or I personally, I went to boarding school and there were visiting days, and I see what not being visited meant a lot. Unajua most parents walikuwa like, nishalipa school fees or I'm at work so that I can make money to take care of you. But being there, you see, like right now you can have like a 4-year-old kid, you'd work I want to say a bad word, you'd work yourself off for them to have a good life, but they grew up and they will remember when I was 5 or 7 or 6, my mom was never there. But so like you even never would know what to do. Are you doing it right? Are you doing it wrong? So I think, and then for like our parents, most of the time, for them it was just providing. As long as I'm paying your school fees, you have a roof over your head, that is it.
Yeah, now that you've mentioned boarding school, I remember my brother went to boarding school a bit earlier than I think class 6, and his school was so far, somewhere in Muranga, in some weird forest. And I remember every time we'd go for visiting days, it was me and my mom and occasionally my aunt. Now that, not that my dad is not there, but my dad is the provider, which we appreciate. But the thing I noticed when I was younger is when we go for those visiting days, obviously it's the whole school being visited, most parents were women. I rarely saw dads.
Yeah, and if your dad comes, jua amekuja na gazeti.
Amekuja na gazeti na simu, and that's it. But the mothers were there with big pots, with dishes, with food, with all of that. And like growing up, I thought that was the norm, like, okay, dads just don't visit. But then I went to high school and I saw more dads, and I was like, wait.
And then, you know, like when you see a dad, like the way you said, most parents who are visiting were mothers. So when you saw a dad amekuja na food, you're like, you know, like that's a rare occasion. So it makes it look so special. Yet he's also equally a parent. You know, that's what he's supposed to do. Like he can as well go to the kitchen and cook food, or even buy food and bring their child food. This before we just to deviate, and that's why you find like if there are single dads raising their kids today, most of the people find it so weird, and they're trying to like give special thanks and accolades to these people because they look like they're doing something super natural, but in the real sense, both of them are parents.
I was watching a TikTok video like 2 days ago, and a dad was scolding the kids because the kids, both him and the mom, are at home, but watoto wakitaka kitu wanamwacha hapo and they go for mom, where is the remote, mom, where is food, mom, and he's like, I'm right here, I'm also your parent, you know. You can ask me for that stuff as well. So I feel like when you're growing up, even if you're a child, like your mind is immediately inclined to believe that mom is the 911 parent who
Mom
knows
is always
everything.
there, checking your scars, your everything. Now let us dive into a more deeper subject. There's the thing of toxic parents, something that is not really talked about, but I'm glad that this new age, I can say Gen Zs, most of them, we are calling out our parents and telling them, yes, I'm very grateful you raised me, you provided, you gave me the best, but there's some of the things that you're doing that are not sitting right with me. So maybe you can just tell us, is it so that they can hear it from me? Because kuna watu wenye ukiwaambia, me, I don't like my mom. They're like, what do you mean you don't like your mom? Like, moms are like the best people. And you know, now when you say something like that, you've shut out a person who really feels the mom is not. So can parents be toxic?
Parents can be toxic, but the way to explain it is this. I was talking to my mom a couple of months ago, and I'm lucky I have a mom who's quite understanding. Yeah. But there's an analogy that I learned just through psychology of a parent can do their best, but you'll never be 100%. So even for the parents who might watch this, it's not that we are sitting here condemning you guys. So the analogy I saw was, I'm gonna use you, Stella. So Stella, right now you have a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I have a son. He's 5 years old.
He's 5 years old. What's his name?
Leon.
So Leon, you're with him and you're always telling him, oh my gosh, my mom was such a bad mom, she never did this. Like, you're always complaining about something. Yeah. But when he goes to his grandma's house, grandma is like, you know what, when I was raising Stella, I did my best, we did this. So in your mom's eyes, she thinks she was an amazing mom. But what you tell Leon, so Leon is like, wait, mom says you are not that amazing, and you say you're amazing. So in that analogy, the grandson now goes and asks, Shosho, like, mom usually says you are not an amazing mom. Why? So for you, it's maybe mom used to drink, for example. Mom used to drink, but then your mom is saying, I think I was an amazing mom because my mom used to beat us like dogs, but I never beat Stella.
Okay.
So in your mind, you're like,
being a good parent is relative.
It's relative, exactly. So in your mind, you're like, you were always drinking. I didn't have money for books, for this. But in her mind, she's like, at least I've cut this one route off. I'm not beating my kids the way I used to be beaten. So for you, you'll always be like, you know what, Leon will never lack. So you're always working. To
overprovide.
Yeah.
So even overproviding again becomes a bad thing, because when now Leon grows up, they'll be like, there are things that you did too much. Maybe it's birthdays, and maybe he never wanted a birthday. He just wanted maybe some time to do, you know.
Yeah. So maybe Leon will tell his son like, yeah, I got everything, but mom never spent time with me. She was always working. So you can only do the best you can, but none of us will ever be 100%. Even if we criticize our own parents, Pia Sisi will never be 100%. Pia Leon will grow up and say, mom was amazing, but here and here there's somewhere she lacked. So yeah, toxic parents can exist, and I understand there are parents who are another level of toxic.
Way above toxic.
Way above toxic. There are parents who don't deserve to be parents. I heard someone saying that every kid deserves a parent, but not every parent deserves a kid.
Wow.
Which is true, because there are parents who have kids out of convenience, out of pressure, out of stuff like that. So stuff like that leads to them being a toxic parent, which is not okay. But it's not that we are condemning our parents. It's just that you can only make sure you do the best of your ability. Make sure that even if it was something super traumatic for you, you stop that thing for Leon. And then Leon will stop that thing for his child. Yeah, it's a cycle. So you can only make this trauma a bit less and less. It will never not be there. It will never be 100%. But you can only take it a notch lower. Yeah, so you go from a drunkard mom to, okay, I overwork, but at least my child has everything. Okay, my mom is not spending time for me, but at least I had this and this and this. You see, it gets better than the one who had an abusive parent, you see? Yeah.
And then there's something they remembered. What normally happens between firstborn daughters and mothers? Because I feel like that's a whole abyss, that's a whole topic on its own.
Yeah.
But just to like touch on it before we'll go into it deeper in other episodes. But what normally happens?
Again, I'm gonna mention my mother. We talk a lot. So I was explaining this to her, and I was telling her, like, do you know there's a woman somewhere? So I'm her last one, and I was telling her, do you know there's a woman somewhere your age who like hates their daughter? There are women who really don't like seeing their daughters flourish. There are women, you might find a woman who was a single mother and the firstborn daughter gets married and now she hates the husband, hates the kids, hates the family. There's a certain hate that comes from inside. So I don't want firstborn daughters to think it's something to do with you. It's really not.
Because most of them, I know a lot of firstborn daughters out there who are like always questioning themselves. Like, what did I really do? I just want my mom to see me. I just want my mom to listen to me, listen to what I'm going through. It's crazy.
What happens is those mothers are bleeding on someone who didn't hurt them. You're bleeding on someone who didn't cut you. The daughter wasn't the one holding the knife. Whether it was an ex, whether it was the baby daddy, whether it was the husband, whether it was your family that hurt you, it's not your daughter's fault. So some people they don't get that difference of this hurt me. Yes, maybe you were with someone who was abusive and you got the child out of that relationship. The child has nothing to do with the father. Yes, it may feel like a burden at that time, but it has nothing to do with the father. So you end up bleeding on someone who didn't hurt you. So the child is sitting there asking, what's wrong with me? And for every firstborn daughter, there is nothing wrong with you. The wound is on your parent, the wound is on your mother. They're just bleeding. We can have compassion for them and grace for them that they were going through something difficult, which is fair to say. It's good to have grace for our parents because also they went through some tough times.
Yeah, and I tend to believe that hizo enzi ya kukuanga na hata podcast ati now you can even go online and say, oh, you know, I'm going through a hard time and I'm just saying this to encourage someone. There was nobody you could, because even you could go back to your parents, even if it's a failed marriage, and they tell you, si unaona mimi sijaitoka huku, so unataka kurudi wapi?
Ama unarudi unaambiwa, so umetoka na hata hujapigwa.
Na mimi napigwa na bado nimebaki kwa baba
huku.
Oh my
Who does that was the standard for them. So I feel really sad for those types of kids, those daughters, because it triggers into their self-worth. They feel like they're not worthy. They feel like they're not deserving of love because your mother is the first person who's gonna show you unconditional love, if you're lucky enough to have a mother who does that. So I feel so sorry for them, but it's not something I want to bleed into their self-worth. For that person to understand that it has nothing to do with you, that's the first step to healing. And yes, you're going to love your mother, of course. Your mother is going to do a lot of things and you're still going to care for her. That's your nature. But you need to get to a point where you understand how whatever she does, however, whether it's a mother or a father, whatever they do, it has nothing to do with you.
Do you, professionally, is cutting off a way of healing? Like, I mean, these days I hear people throwing out the word oh, me, just cut off people. I easily cut off people, whether it's family, boyfriend, girlfriend. Is cutting off a way of healing? And is it really advisable, like from a professional point of view?
Yes, definitely. Now, it depends.
So you can cut off people and go start your own family.
Not like that, because I feel like for people who get to a point where they're cut off someone, it's you've put in a certain level of effort into that relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, a parent. You've put some level to get to a certain level of understanding. You've put some effort. So if the other party is not reciprocating, then why put the negative energy in your life? Like, especially if it's someone who you don't need is a strong word, but it's not someone you fully depend on. It might be hard to like cut off a parent or something like that. But if it's a place where you've put in effort to try and mend the relationship and it's just not working, and you realize those effects are bleeding out on you and it's changing who you are, then cutting off is definitely a way to find peace for yourself. Yeah, cutting off, even if it's not forever, for a certain amount of time, because people grow. You might cut off a friend in your 20s, and when you get to 40s, they're a completely different person.
I have had stages of friendship, and you just don't talk to somebody because I feel like at that point there's nothing really to talk about. But mnapatana 3-4 years later, and now you're in a space where maybe you can work together or even be friends or even like have something to talk about. So I feel like, yeah, I think it does work. And for me, okay, for me and for me sana, because as we discussed earlier, for me I didn't really go to therapy. I had to tag through life, like do it by yourself. For me, distance works. Like unajua kuna watu wengi wanasemanga, oh, mimi niko home but nataka kutoka juu home ni kukeleleshwa, home ni wengine. Well, some are petty, I'm not gonna lie. Some are really petty. Oh, sijui nafanyishwa kazi, nafanya wanaoshwa vyombo. Some are really petty, they want to move home, and there's nothing really outside here.
Yeah.
You just if you're loved at home to some extent,
yeah,
like you can eat and sleep in peace. That is, si ile peace ya kutusiwa. Unajua kuna ile ingine yenye US unaishi home unaprovideiwa, but every day it's constant abuse.
Wanasemanga you're paying with your mental health.
Yes, but if you eat and sleep in peace, and the only thing that you're required to do is maybe wash dishes or even cook, please stay at home.
Yeah, please stay at home.
Because that's the idea, siku rahisi.
Yeah.
And so I was like, for me, what works is distance. Even if, no matter how somebody's toxic to me, as long as we're not existing in the same space, I can learn to live with you. So if it's a parent or a friend or a spouse, as long as we're not existing in the same area, it's going to be okay. And so to go to another point, there's one person I had in my DM and they were saying they would really want to have financial freedom, but they can't even get a job or do anything because as long as they're living at home, whatever amount of money they'll make, their parents are going to take that money.
What?
As a way, the parents are using it as a way of paying themselves for taking care of, for raising the kid.
You see, this is why I say not all parents deserve kids, because what is that? The child is your responsibility. Like, what I'm really thankful for my parents, because my brother left home when he was, I think, 24, almost 25. And my dad was still like giving him even fare to go to work, and he has his own money. It's not that he doesn't have, but
Mlijichagulia wazazi.
Si tulijichagulia wazazi.
Mlijichagulia wazazi.
Like, it's your responsibility. That's something my dad says all the time. Like, me bringing you into this world, it's my responsibility. Like, I'm the one who brought you here. You didn't ask to be here. So for a parent to do that, it just really...
Kuna wazazi wanaambianga mtu nilikuleta na ndakurudisha.
Si unirudishe basi uone ukienda kamiki.
Yeah, but now let's talk the opposite of the old school parenting, gentle parenting. The positives and the dangers.
So, I know a lot of people bash gentle parenting online. I know you all bash it. Mwache hasira. There's a difference between gentle parenting and permissive parenting. Permissive. There's a difference. So permissive parenting is what people confuse gentle parenting with. So gentle parenting is more of sort of, I'm going to say, authoritative parenting, where there are consequences for what the child does. So it's not that you're just existing for whatever reason. Like, I'm going to explain to you, this is what you did, this is the consequence for what you did. It's not authoritarian that I'm punishing you, but it's me explaining what you've done and the consequences and teaching you responsibility through that. So people confuse that for permissive parenting. Now, permissive parenting is what you all don't like. No one likes permissive parenting. Permissive parenting creates brats because it's a child. So it's basically mtoto ndio anaambia mzazi.
Wow.
So, and that comes from parents who don't know, sort of are scared of their kids getting angry,
How can you be scared of a
tantrums.
7-year-old kid?
Imagine kama wewe Leo analia hapa, hutaki kuona mtoto akilia, hebu mpe hiyo simu, hebu mpe hiyo. Let the child cry. Let him get angry. He's gotta grow out of it. So permissive parents are those people, and mostly it can happen for people who are either afraid of hurting their children. They think it's hurting their children, but it's really helping.
Ni wale wa mwache tu akuume.
Mwache anakuanga hivyo. Anakuanga hivyo.
And you see, funny enough, that's why I don't like going to people's houses, people that have kids.
Yeah.
Because I'd feel like I may continue because I don't know what I'll say.
Yeah. Sasa hiyo permissive parenting ndio unaona mtoto anasema, but then, have you seen, I saw a video on TikTok, again, I'm always on TikTok. So I saw a video on TikTok of two parents confronting. So one parent, the child was bullying the other woman's daughter. And this woman is explaining she's very strong with it, but she's explaining in a very kind way that your daughters were doing this and this and this to my daughter, and it's not right, and they deserve consequences. And the other woman's daughters are behind her, and they're laughing. Why are they laughing? Because they know hakuna kitu tutafanyiwa.
Wow.
Literally,
and I think for such parents, if you know you're such parent, just stay with your kid at home. Don't bring your kid to public spaces, because
literally,
in as much as you think that you're doing it right for your kid, you don't want to hurt their small ego. It's really embarrassing.
It really is, especially when they grow up. Wakifika preteens, apo teenage, and you are a brat, it's a menace to society, quite honestly.
What do you make of how can I put it, social media parenting, online parenting, like those people who, I can say, celebrity kids? I have a friend, he's in the audience somewhere. He normally says it's really wrong to put our kids online, especially videos and kids who've not really understood what the online space can do to them. Like maybe you could innocently post your kid crying ama kikula makamasi, for lack of a better word, and they'll grow up and they'll find a video of themselves eating makamasi. Like what would that do to them?
It's gotta bother them for sure, because I feel like posting your kid once in a while, like for their birthdays, for their little graduations in preschool or whatever, that's okay, you're celebrating your child. But the everyday constant of strangers online knowing your kid's routine, like wanajua Leon anamkanga 5:30, anafanya hivi, anaenda shule, anafanya hivi, that's not okay. So posting milestones that your kid is taking, like if your kid is learning to walk or learning to eat by themselves or being messy, or that's not something to put on social media. I would think that's something you want to experience in private, like you're watching your kid taking these milestones. So I feel like posting kids, I don't find a problem with posting kids for celebrating them in terms of birthdays and graduations and whatever, but the constant everyday, like this is Leo's routine, this that's.
And because what I've learned with the online space, if you constantly post even your spouse or sana sana in relationships, and even your kid, when you constantly post them having like broken the ceiling, like doing extraordinary things, and yes, you're proud of them, but itafika point, because it happened to me kidogo. I used to be very clever. In primary school.
Used to?
Yes, and I don't know what happened along the way. So I feel like if you constantly post your kid with their achievements, what will happen when these achievements are taken away? Like what will happen if they suddenly, God forbid, for lack of a better word, got a stroke or a tumor that renders them redundant? Like what will happen? Will you still be proud of them?
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Posting
because when they like get a trophy or they're running or they're smiling, they're looking all cute. Like what if they get like a big scar to their face or they're bedridden? Would you still be proud of them?
Oh yeah.
Because I believe parenting should be both positive and negative. Like you'd be there for your kid whatever they're going through, whether they're alcoholics, you know.
Basically, let your child not feel like their worth is tied to something. Like their worth is tied to their academic performance or their performance in sports or whatever it is that they do. I feel like so many parents get tied into the thought of, Stella anapatanga A. Stella anapatanga A.
Oh, yeah, and then there's the thing of the comparing kids.
Yeah.
I don't know kama wazazi siku hizi wanafanya, but in my time we used to be compared a lot.
Ati mom nimekuwa number 2. Mwenye amekuwa number 1 amekosa nini? Like come on, just celebrate me. Yeah. So I feel like you shouldn't make your kids feel like their worth is tied to something, because if that thing leaves, then your kid will feel like they're not worthy of anything.
Yeah, and also the whole comparison thing used to come, I feel, from Kitambo, because Kitambo, they're also very, very limited careers.
Yeah.
Like it's either you're a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, a nurse.
Yeah.
Right now, even if your kid is really failing,
Yeah.
they could even be content creators, because that's also a job that I believe a lot of parents are coming to terms with.
Yeah.
But for the Gen Zs who are getting kids, I believe they won't have a problem with their kids becoming whatever they want to become, even if it's a kitten.
I remember
just saying.
I remember my dad saying after, I think my brother was in high school or after, and he was saying, mi mtoto wangu akiweza kuja niambia anataka kuwa DJ, utatoka hapo uende si mtoto wangu. And in my head I was like, if my son becomes a DJ, that's so cool. Yeah. I get to say my son is a DJ, like that's so cool. And my mom is just like, wewe fanya kenye unataka, as long as you're not taking drugs.
I think it was those, because Kitambo, I feel like there were chamas, there were church groups, there were a lot of things to do with groups. So I felt for them it meant something that they could, like be tied to. My cousin is doing her engineering PhD and whatnot. Right now we really don't care who we meet. We're not even leaving the house to go meet people.
Yeah, but also that ties into the worth, the self-worth that the parent feels they have. Because I was telling my mother, apart from being my dad's wife and apart from being Mama Vini and Mama Caro, who are you? Like, who is Mary? If we never existed, who is Mary? Who is Stella without Leon? You get it?
Yes.
So if the parent, I'm not saying being a parent is bad, and of course it affects your whole life, but if it's your entire personality, like...
Oh, there are those women who put their social media bios, it has wife, mother, doctor. That is okay.
And that's okay.
But just stopping at wife and mother,
yeah,
that's something.
Yeah, and I feel like that's gonna be me, doctor, wife, mother. Yeah,
doctor, wife.
Yeah, doctor, wife. So I'm gonna be that woman, but I feel like if you place your entire worth on your kids, it's kind of a dangerous place to be. That's why you see when kids grow up and move out, there was a statistic, I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was like when parents are together and they're raising kids and they lose the spark between each other, when the kids move out, they're more likely to get divorced, because the only thing that was connecting us imeenda. Wow. So you forget yourself as a wife, you forget yourself as a husband, you forget each other, you focus solely on the kids. So all the only conversations you're having is school fees ni how much? Umelipia ile trip? Amenunua uniform
how much?
Bills, like you don't focus on each other. So when the kids move out, you are the percentage chance of divorce goes higher.
So just to answer a few questions, what's the impact of constantly yelling on a child's self-esteem?
That one is I feel like that's the worst thing a parent can do, which I know there are
yelling
bad
and
days.
Beating someone in public.
Yeah, yelling especially.
Because I remember back in high school, people will go for suspension and expulsion, and then ukirudishwa, unajua watu wengi ukiendanga suspension hausemi nini umekujia home until the last day, unasema tu niliambiwa nikuje na mzazi. So now your parent says, okay, sawa, ama hata you give them a story that makes you, look like the victim, and then they get to school and then they get to learn what you've done.
Ooh.
I used to see kids being beaten in front of the whole school because now your parent has learned of the truth and they're so angry. And I feel like those girls never really had anything to themselves because sasa hata ungeongea kwa watu juu ulikuwa unaenda kuongea unasema nikuitie mamako.
That's so sad.
That was so sad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, our school was different. Mzazi alikuwa anajulishwa na mwalimu kenye umefanya before mwende home na yeye.
So wait, so when you're suspended mzazi anaitwa atoke kule yako akuja kuchukue. Wow. That's how our school was. Even for like kujipeleka home wasn't the usual in school. Like I would say 80% of the school ilikuwa inakujiwa closing day, midterm, inakujiwa na wazazi. So that's how it was. So for us watu wa Nairobi, Mombasa, they used to be picked by buses because I was learning all the way in Kisii. So they used to be picked by buses and then then now kuna nyolikuwa nachukuliwa na wazazi and then wenye mko hapo around some mnaweza tujipeleka. But the rule was if you got in town, like the nearest town, Kisii town, ukipatwa huko like 30 minutes of the school has closed, they're definitely taking you back to school because nika utaki kwenda home. Unazurura na uniform because nika utaki kwenda home. They'll take you back to school uendelee kusoma.
Yeah.
How do we repair the damage after like such a parenting mistake has happened, like shouting or shaming for your kids in public or like where people are basically?
Okay, in public is literally traumatizing. That one you need to because I feel like repairing those relationships and repairing that trauma requires a skill that most parents don't have or don't want to acknowledge. And it's because of their ego. For an African mother to sit down and say, Pole. Stella, pole. Nilikosea. What I did was wrong.
They will chew bricks before they do it.
Atakupikia chapati na nini, hiyo ndio apology.
Unataka kukula nini?
Unataka kukula nini? Hebu angalia hapo kwa kibeti nimekuletea kitu. Wow. That's the apology.
And imagine we fell for it.
Of course you did. Utakosa kufall for it uchapwe tena.
So like what's that one thing you'd tell now the person who would like, yes they know they unajua uzuri wa sahi, najua niko na maybe na weakness flani, but I'm willing to learn to correct that weakness. So like what is it that one thing that you tell them to do so that they can
as a parent,
so
I would advise them to do something that my mom has done. I'm going to speak about my mom and not guys. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
So my mom is someone who has healed a lot over the years, and when I've grown up, obviously ikiwa teenager tukua tunasikizana kuchukia, but when I grew up after high school tukaanza kubond kidogo nikaanza kufanya psychology, and I don't know what happened. I don't know whether to say it's God or what it is, but she became very open-minded. So hata yeye mwenyewe anaanza kusikiza podcast kuhusu psychology, parenting and whatever, and even her herself would call me and be like, hey Nyambu, nimekumbuka kitu nilifanya, and I feel like that wasn't right, and I feel like really I did it because of this. You see, she's learning by herself, and even when she remembers something by herself, she'll call me and she's like, unajua ndio umefanya psychology, hebu niambie nilifanya hii kwa sababu ya what. So basically what the best thing a parent can do is have the open-mindedness and the willingness to learn. That's it, because the more you learn, wewe mwenyewe ndio utajipeleka kwa mtoto wako umwambie, by the way Stella, this was a mistake, I'm sorry for this, and that doesn't take away from you as a dad, as
it doesn't make you any lesser of a parent.
If anything, it makes you more of a parent.
And then your kids now will learn to love you more than fear you, because exactly. A lot of parents mistake fear and respect. Like wakiingia waone watoto wamepotea sitting room wanadhani watoto wananiogopa, so that's a good thing, but is it not?
It's not. Okay. It's like the worst thing, because I feel like kuona mtoto mwenye baba yake anafika and akawapo tu anapiga story na yeye, anamhaga, anamrukia, and people on TikTok are like, wewe ulijiumbia mzazi wewe.
I know. I normally see those comments and somebody's like, what do you mean you hug your dad?
Yeah.
What do you mean you and your mom can go even drinking together?
Okay, that's crazy. Sijafika hapo guys.
So before we do this last part, we're going to read a few of the anonymous questions that members from the We Are One mental health group sent in regards to parenting. So I'm going to start with yes. One said, Mi sijai kuwa na a masculine figure kama role model. My dad alikuwa mlevi wa mtaa. Kazi ilikuwa kupigiwa simu, umuende kwa bar, fulani amezima. Hapo ever since I was a kid, hiyo time sikuwa na impact, but sasa ndo na realize kuna vitu zingine ilifaa kunifunza. But we really met akiwa soba na madhe, alikuwa wa kucriminalize mzae. Sijui amefanya hivi mara amefanya hivi, ikifika hadi point food ilikuwa served, unachukua zako unaenda kukulia kejani solo juu kika sitting room hiyo food ate itakataa kuingia. Ni maneno unasikia hadi wa leo. I have social anxiety. Being a firstborn ilikuwa so traumatizing kuona that they were not in good terms, but can't blame both. Maybe even though wali grow hadi sahi bado inani affect.
First of all, that's so sad. I'm
I
so
know
sorry
that
to
is
that
when I
person.
read this I was like no way. Yeah.
And the sad thing is that's the common story. I feel like we could have 50 more of the same thing. And that's so sad. And the parents don't realize, like, so the dad doing what he did, and I'm guessing this is a boy because
I'm also guessing this is a boy.
amesema Miss J kuwa na a masculine figure kama
yeah,
role model.
I also felt like he was a man.
Yeah, because he said role model. So I feel like dads don't realize. Okay, the one benefit I've gotten from studying psychology is holding grace and pain at the same time, because it's possible.
Is it?
Yes, it is. So you can have grace for your parent, but that doesn't negate the wrong that they did. We are not saying that now dad is an angel.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can understand why he did some things. Even when he said about mom criminalizing the dad.
Yeah.
That one, you can totally have grace for her, because this is the love of her life. This is her husband. Okay.
Na wataki kuachana. And the one thing about toxic people, they love each other. You can never advise either of them to leave the other.
Even when they're your own parents, unachana tu now.
Yeah.
So something that helped me hold grace and pain at the same time is realizing it's your parents' first time doing life as well. That thing hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, it's the first time my mom is married. It's the first time my dad has a wife.
Kids.
It's the first time they have kids. It's the first time they have Caro as a kid. They had my brother, but my brother and I are two different people.
And then I also learned that parenting is at different stages.
Yeah.
You could be parented when your parents had money or didn't have money, and then a sibling comes along when everything is okay. No fights, no money problem. Some have even retired. The love is totally different. The parenting is different.
I have a cousin who's been raised like that, and we usually look at him, we're like, huyu mtoto ako na bahati.
Alijichagulia wazazi.
Ameishi soft life. So I feel like for this person, the fact that it has gotten to a point where they have social anxiety, that is caused by the fact that amesema unachukua food unaenda kijani, unakaa peke yako. That's a dangerous thing, because I feel like parents who wanna feel like hebu niondokeeni endeni bedroom mkakulia huko nini. See, that is gonna cause anxiety.
A very funny and sad story. I don't know if it's funny and sad. Whatever she finds this online, I wouldn't like give a hoot about it. When I was around 8-9 years old, I was staying with a relative who had taken me from my grandma with the conversation of, si tuende tuishi na yeye kwa sababu unajua niko peke yangu na nimepata kazi. Kumbe they were going to turn me into their house help. And you can't tell your mother because this is their sister. Yeah. So, and then when it was time to eat, they'd because at that time my aunt had like a husband, so when it was time to eat, nilikuwa naambiwa nikulie bedroom. So I used to hate food.
That's so sad.
So nilikuwa natupa hiyo food chini ya kitanda. Then one day she found out all those types of foods under the bed.
How are you alive?
Yeah, the rest is a long story. Let me just say I'm strong sometimes. That's why I told you I really had to tag it through life for me to get where I am. But yeah, continue.
I was lucky enough to go to therapy, which I thank God for.
Yeah.
Where was I? So when the
for
parents
the eating alone and stuff.
Eating alone, like that's, even if you're noticing your child having that tendency, it's a very dangerous thing, because it did also, I feel like me and him have a similar story, even if not exactly. Like, it causes social anxiety to the point where I can't, ilikuwa imefika point where I can't go to the market. Siwezi enda duka, siwezi panda matatu kwenda shule. Going to school was hard. I used to like physically shake. I can't breathe because I'm so used to being in my own world, to being alone in my room, handling my own emotions. So when you tell me go out there, deal with the makanga, sijui do this, go to school, handle students, whatever. That was really hard.
I think for me my social anxiety was brought by the fact that unachapwa juu uko na rafiki, ama unachapwa juu unacheza, ama unachapwa juu uko kwa watu. Unachapiwa hiyo reasons that you're with people, and now you're grown up and you need people. You even like, why do I need people? Because I never knew how to be with people when I was younger.
Ukikuwa mkubwa ukae kwa nyumba, mzazi akwambia sasa kazi yako ni kukaa kwa nyumba.
Funny enough, my mom tells me, si hata utoke hata uende huko tau rudi. I'm like,
you used to beat me for that.
Yeah.
Come on. So for this guy, I'm assuming it's a guy, the only way is to, which I hope they can get the help they need to deal with the social anxiety like I did, but holding that grace and pain at the same time is an amazing way to heal. So find a place in your heart where you can see the logical of an understanding of why your mom did what she did. Yeah, we can understand your mom. She was coming from a place of pain. There are women who have abusive husbands and in turn abuse their kids. They have nowhere to take that pain. So when unaweza pata pia the dad anapitia kitu fulani, the only way he can lash it out, you can only lash out to a person who's weaker than you, a person who can't fight back. So the husband will lash out at the wife will lash out at
because even reading this story, I feel like the parents also had a backstory even before he was born, because I feel like they also have their own issues that they have to deal with, even for the dad to be the way they are and the mom to be the way they are. I feel like there's something that is very traumatic that has already happened to both of them as parents, and now it is dripping down to him.
Exactly. And that has been like a huge part of my personal healing journey, is learning those backstories, learning the backstory of my mom, learning the backstory of my dad, knowing what happened in your childhood, how was your relationship with your parents, what led to it being like this. It gives you such a space for grace, and you look at your parent in a different way. Even if you can look at your dad like him, we can look at his dad and say like, this is a drunkard, he never provided, he never did this. But go back, go read the backstory, go ask him about his dad, his mom, his childhood.
Walevi hatudanganyangi.
Walevi hawadanganyangi, mpate akiwa menini chupa mbili. So learning that backstory of your parents would really help. It will help you have grace for them and also hold your pain. It doesn't invalidate your pain.
Okay, and so maybe to go to like on a more positive side of parenting, because not every parent is toxic. Some are really, really good parents. Ndio maana tunaulizanga wasengine kama walijichagulia wazazi. So I'll read just one. I think I'm one of the luckiest people when it comes to parents. Very strict, but also very loving and very healthy environment. My parents are literally my ride or die, financially, emotionally, physically. Even when I'm heartbroken, I'd go to my mom and we'd laugh it out. When I'm broke, I'll just make a call and they'll help me where they can, and I can say I'll definitely borrow their parenting technique. I could write a whole book. Here, I love those ones.
Just say, I want that to be my child. I want my child to say that one day. Huyu kwanza apigiwe makofi. You are a lucky girl.
They have like very good parents, whether they are him or her.
That's what I'm saying, like that perfect balance ndio unasikia nikiita authoritative parenting. So I want like every parent ama every person who's watching this, go look up the types of parenting. That gets you to understand the direction that your parent was headed in. So kuna authoritarian, authoritative, permissive and neglectful. So permissive and neglectful, the worst. Because permissive creates brats and neglectful creates crazy independent kids who don't depend on anyone. But authoritarian is, you're my child so you have to listen to me. Kia nimesema ndio ni hivyo. But authoritative is the perfect balance. So this person, girl or boy, has said her parents are very strict. That's what she started with. She says when it comes to my parents, they are very strict, but also very loving and a very healthy environment. That is exactly what a child needs. Because a child also needs a strict parent. A child also needs to respect you but not to fear you. So I really want this to be my child one day, in that she knows the boundaries she can't cross with her parents, but she also knows when things go badly, I'm gonna run to mom, I'm gonna run to dad. Your kids are smart. Okay, your kids have a functioning brain. They understand things when you tell them. I was in a school meeting for one of my little cousins. the other day, and the teachers were saying, the students are telling them, like, you guys don't have to beat us. We understand when you say things. Just come to me, sit me down, tell me this was wrong. This is the consequence, but you don't have to beat me. So that's the perfect balance for parents. Even if you are a strict parent, make sure you're explaining to your child, this is why this is happening, so that you don't become authoritarian. It's just like, do this and do this and do this. That creates kids who perform to have attention. They know, if I get an A, I'll get a good attention from mom. If I do this, I'll get a good attention from dad. That makes your kids perform. But when you explain to them things, they have the safety to come to you even when things go wrong.
In forwards, how do we break the parenting curses and not really curses? How do we practically break the generational patterns that have been set by our parents? One, I believe in communication. The others are,
Social learning and open-mindedness, I would say.
So you do believe that kids and parents can go to therapy, like both of them?
Yes, they can. They can.
Because I believe like it will be a long haul telling parents, like Gen Xers, most of them are parents, and telling them, I want you to come with me to therapy. Do you know how that sounds in an African home? But I would really love us to continue this conversation. But for the next episodes and more episodes to come, I believe we'll be able to break other, like subtopics, like co-parenting, a lot of things that are involved. But because of time, thank you very much for watching this episode. And I have been your lovely host, Stella K, and my guest has been
Caroline.
Yeah. And where can they follow you on your socials?
I'm on Instagram, CN_Mwangi, and on TikTok, Caroline Mwangi.
Do you do any other talk shows on
Yes, I do post videos on TikTok. Sorry, I teach about psychology, anything you would want to learn about psychology, because it is a very interesting thing to learn. So the intricacies of psychology, basically trying to understand how your brain works, I get to explain all of that on my TikTok, so you can follow that.
So I would really love for us to have this episode go for longer, but because of time and everything, thank you very much for watching this episode. I've been your lovely host, Stella K, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one.